And now I'm thinking of creating an episode of podcast. So I have stumbled, but actually, so that is become my mother tongue is this is just an excuse, but actually let me tell you the excuse of my stumbling when speaking English language. And not by the way, anyway. So my mother tongue is another language different from English language. So which is why, so speaking at foreign languages is really difficult actually. So I don't know whether you have experience. I don't know whether you have experience or experiences of studying foreign languages, but actually, so if for example, so the majority listeners, or the majority among the listeners of my podcast are American people, but actually, so this is what I have had. Yeah, I have heard that. In the case of American people, they study Spanish language, or they speak Spanish language. They speak Spanish language. So in which says it's possible to say that American people are bilingual people. Actually, so there's a joke or there's a not saying there's a joke that. So there is a monolingual people who are American people, and when it comes to Japanese people, by the way, I'm a Japanese person, and my mother tongue is Japanese, and in the case of Japanese people, it's possible to say that they are bilinguals, because they know sort of English language, whilst American people do not know, or many American people had not known any foreign languages, maybe decades before actually. So but recent in recent situation, people have learned Spanish language, so that so especially people living in southern states in the United States, they know sort of Spanish language, so that they can I don't know. It's up to the not each preference. I think it's up to the not preference. So I thought how to say proficiency. It's up to not. Of course, it's up to the preference of each person. Whether they can become willing to communicate with Hispanic people. But actually, so when it comes to focusing on, for example, linguistic communications with Hispanic people speaking Spanish language. So proficiency that does matter. The proficiency that does matter, which is what I'm saying, and. I'm talking about anyway. So it's up to the proficiency of each American person, whether they can communicate with Hispanic people using Spanish language. Anyway, but actually, so this is not the central track, or this is not the central topic of this episode. So hello everybody, I'm Richard Wong of Work2Live podcast version. So I'm going to tell you the title and the conclusion of this episode. The title is "This is a proof. Generally, the world becomes better." I'm sorry. So the pronunciation of the word "world" is really difficult for the native speaker of it. For me, the pronunciation of the word "world" is really difficult. And the conclusion is the Japanese online platform named Note I used prohibited displaying the adult content I created years before this time. This is not a bad event, but a good one. So, in most cases, the prohibition of displaying the content you created or I created is really a harsh event, or is really a bad event. In most cases, the prohibition of displaying content some people created is really a bad event. Such a prohibition seems to be, or such prohibition of displaying contents seems to be a bad one. But actually, so I think this is a I have found this prohibition a good one. So, or how should I say? That is, those adult contents are destined to be, well, not are destined to be, but actually those adult contents were destined to be, or so maybe better said, those adult contents I had created years before have been destined to be deleted, which is what I have thought, which is what I had thought in the past. When I created those adult contents which were prohibited to be displayed this time. So when I created those adult contents, so I had thought, well, I thought that they would be deleted they would be deleted in the near future, or in the future. Anyway, so or someday those adult contents would be prohibited to be displayed, or those adult contents would be stopped being displayed online. Which is what I thought when I created those adult contents in the platform Note. Note is the name of that platform anyway, but actually, so this time the administrator prohibited those adult contents to be displayed online, which is what happened to me. But actually, so I found this a good tendency, or not acceptable tendency, but actually, so how should I say? Well, so anyway, people should accept such a trend, which is what I thought, or how should I say? That prohibition is was being praised, which is what I thought, and that is because, so as I have told you in the beginning of this episode, so did I tell you in the section of conclusion? Maybe no, I didn't tell you, but actually this is what I think. But actually, so I don't know whether you can understand what I'm going to tell you. But actually, so societies are likely to grow better, or chances that societies grow better, or there's such a tendency along which there's a tendency, or there are tendencies along which human societies grow better. So also so in the ancient times, for example, when it comes to economic growth, so the economic growth had been really low in ancient time, for example, and just after the kickstart, or just after the beginning of industrial revolution, so the economic growth began to surge, or began to rise, which is what happens to human societies. And now that, so human societies are continuously going up, or surging every year, and and the growth rate had not been seen in ancient time, which is the situation of this present time. And how should I say? So along which, so it's really difficult to explain, because not of course, one of the difficulties is that, so I'm using a foreign language than my not my I'm using a foreign language, not my own mother tongue anyway. But actually, so another stuff is that as societies grow better, or as societies economically flourish, so compliances or rules are going to be equipped, or compliances or rules equipped or are made sort of. Well, they are, so just for example, the image or the understanding is like, so each government of each government it's trying to create better rules or better regulations or better laws or better situation, better, how should I say, better environments for not enacting, for how should I say, for applying the rules or laws those bureaucrats have created. Each government has its own smart bureaucrats, and so as societies grow up, so the government of each rich society thinks of or comes up with convenient or better rules for making the society take in better ways. So such a thing is what each government thinks. So please understand in such a manner, so that along what I have told you, so it's natural to think that better rules are applied as societies grow up, or better rules become applied, or better laws become applied to each better countries, or each countries which began to be well off. So rules are necessary to make human societies take in efficient manners, or in better manners, so that, or in fluent manners, or in some ways. But actually, which is to make societies decent, or more decent. So rules are necessary, and more decent rules, decenter rules become necessary when it comes to regulating or controlling the general directions of the general public. And so, which is why, so if rules increase its covering range, for example, laws are created in such a manner. So for example, so the images, the understanding, or the picture is like, so when please think about a hypothetical situation in which, so there is a drug which had been just invented, and so the drug is unknown, and particularly people do not know whether that drug is dangerous or not. But actually, so if that drug turns out to be dangerous, so the government is required to prohibit or to regulate that dangerous drug, such as, please understand such a thing. So so that dangerous things are going to be evicted from out of the human society. Such a thing or such a social system is what I'm talking about. And like which, so if some things are found dangerous, or some things are found harmful to human societies, those dangerous things are going to be evicted or eliminated in the future. And so in such a manner, each human society is going. Such a tendency, or such a likelihood is what I'm talking about. I think it's possible to say that is a principle or theory of, or the general theory of human beings, which this is just my opinion, or this is just my perspective. about whether it's possible to use the words principles or the general theories for that social tendency of becoming better or becoming more decent or becoming decenter. Anyway, but actually, so so which is why the fact that this time the fact is that the fact that my adult contents were prohibited to be displayed online is a good event. Thinking about that social tendency I have talked about. So which is why I'm thinking of accepting that judgment made by the administrator of Japanese platform Note. So but actually this is really a good opportunity for this is really good opportunity, which is what I thought when I was informed of the prohibition of displaying. So which is why so I'm thinking of this displaying what happened to my adult content, So maybe I should I'm thinking of what I'm thinking of is that I'm going to insert this display or the how should I say that the captured scene of showing how should I say I'm thinking of showing the captured scenes of displaying a list of adult contents or the web pages of adult contents I created. And so what I'm going to show is such a list of adult contents which were prohibited to be displayed this time. Such a thing is what I'm thinking of. So if you'd like to see what happened, or if you'd like to see how those adult contents were displayed when they were prohibited to be displayed. So please take a look at the video version of this episode of podcast, so that you can I'm sorry for my slowly speaking English language, because I'm a non-native speaker of English language, so that I'm thinking of inserting that scene at the last of the video, so that you can watch that scene, or watch that scene displaying the list of or displaying a list of the web pages of adult contents I created. So please take a look at it. Please take a look at the description column of this episode, from which you can access that video in the future. So I'm thinking of ending this episode. So before actually ending this episode, I'm going to tell you the title and the conclusion of this episode. The title is "This is a proof. Generally, the world becomes better." And the conclusion is the Japanese online platform Note I used prohibited displaying the adult content I created years before this time. This is not a bad event, but a good one. So that's it. Please, anyway, please. I don't know whether it's possible for you to enjoy those things of prohibited adult contents. But actually, anyway, please take a look at them. Please take a look at that video. I'm going to upload that video in the future. So that's it. Thank you very much for listening. See you. And finally, the recording time of this episode is it's the middle of November in 2022, in which the Ukrainian war is ongoing. Anyway, so why I'm telling you the time of creating this episode is that this episode can be listened, or the listeners in the future, or the listeners in the far future, or the listeners living in the world of, for example, 100 years after this present time, may listen to this episode. Thinking about which, so I inserted this section, or this segment, telling you the time of recording of this episode. This is a kind of correction, but actually, so I said during the time of recording of this episode, or during the time of recording this episode, so I said decent or more decent. So I used to comparatives, but actually, so the correct comparative of decent, the adjective decent is more decent, not decenter.